Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Ihsahn to talk about his latest EP, Pharos, out September 11th on Candlelight. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. All things considered, and I hope as well with you.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. It's nice to see you again and to talk to you again. Last time we chat was about Telemark, and now we're talking about the second EP. And that takes me to the first question I have for you, which is, what are the similarities between these two EPs that you see, and what are the main differences?
Well, they are of course planned as a whole. So my intention was all along to do two EPs, and basically to clean the slate, musically for myself a little bit before I approached my next full-length album. And I had this thing where the way I grew up on albums, I had this idea, just a get-go, that an album should have an ebb and flow and the songs should be interconnected. I like kind of conceptual things, and I guess some of the musical aspects of these two EPs are maybe too much of a strong color or texture, if you will, for me to put in an album. But within the EP format, I found it I could kind of go further to each side. So the differences between the two EPs are really that the Telemark EP really focused in on everything that I know and everything that is close to home and close to heart, and Pharos is about all the stuff that I'm kind of unfamiliar with and everything that is far away, but still interesting to explore. And musically, I mean, Telemark is just focusing on the extreme voice and all that, and Pharos is the opposite. It only goes and more of a mellow and melancholic and maybe poppy arrangement style. So apart from that, so they're kind of worlds apart in conceptual ideas, but both contain 3 new original tracks. Both contain 2 cover songs that kind of influence the direction of the original songs and how they were produced. So like with Telemark, we collaborated with David Tire about him drawing illustrations for each original song, based on pictures that my wife took here in Telemark. And for this next EP, we've collaborated with Costin again, who's been also doing kind of custom illustrations or paint. So in format they're very, very similar, but kind of 2 opposites of the of the same thing.
Maybe from more of a creativity perspective, in terms of what the outcome of that creativity is where the main differences lie. Like, I felt this one was very progressive, very experimental, very outside the box. It's almost like you just crumpled the box and you just went whatever you wanted to go. Is that what your goal was from the absolute beginning, or it kind of grew like that as you start working on it?
No, as I said, the original idea was to kind of take the most extreme end of what I was doing musically. I mean, there are, of what I did on Telemark and what I did on this Pharos EP. Of course, there's been elements of that throughout my catalog, but this time I wanted to kind of single it out and distill it further, and I guess I to put myself in a situation where I do something new, something challenging, and that keeps me excited.
I felt with the 3 original tracks on this EP, there was a growth from the first one to the second one and then to the third one. Musically, I felt like there were some elements that you started off telling or introducing to the listener with the first track. Then some of them migrated into the second track. You added some more stuff on top of that. And then that conjunction from the second track moved to the third track, and you added some more stuff on top of that. Do you feel like there is that progression from the first one to the third original song on the release?
I guess, they're kind of interconnected. While writing and everything, I think I quite early on get a feeling of, in what kind of order, the songs should take. Again, kind of hinting back to of albums, and the way, I like things to have an natural ebb and flow and not just be kind of randomly thrown together. And I think this comes from growing up with Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and King Diamond, for example, where there are very strong conceptual ideas. And just looking at that Iron Maiden cover, you will hear things in the music that feels connected to the imagery. You're kind of in that world, and that's kind of what I grew up on, and that's kind of how our albums are supposed to be for me. And I guess for these EPs as well, that's I guess since this is more limited format, I thought maybe it was interesting to be even more distinct. Well, like on Telemark in particular, I think, where Norwegian lyrics, the black, the images are and illustrations for it are in black and white, like old pencil drawings. Mm-hmm. The video, the promo shots, everything is like all Telemark style. It's very communicating a very, very one-dimensional expression. That's
I thought from the 3 original tracks you included on this release, Pharos had a very jazzy undertone to it, almost a little bit of a throwback. I wouldn't go as far as to say cabaret, but there's, to me, it sounded like very jazzy in the way the song was put together, how it came across. Do you feel that same influence in the sound of that track?
Yeah, well, more like kind of a big band thing. I'm a huge fan of like the big band sound, especially the brass sections there. I did have a brass section on Telemark, but yeah, I'm assuming you're referring to in particular of Pharos, got before, and with like small stabs there with like Hammond organ and everything. But this is something that kind of harkens, it hints of the atmosphere, a lot of the Portishead stuff that I also covered for this EP, and that kind of almost like dub style atmosphere. Yeah.
You have the perfect way of picking covers for these 2 EPs. I mean, you picked you picked perfect ones for Telemark, and now these 2, once you listen to them, they feel perfect. When I saw what the covers were, I was wondering why these 2, but then once you listen to it, you totally understand why. But how far into the process did you decide to go with these 2 songs? Very distinct tracks.
First. that's like I do with the covers first, because well, of course first was the conceptual idea, and of course I wanted to delve into the more pop, electronic element of what I had been doing, and kind of go further in that direction. And then it was just picking songs that would kind of emphasize that and could be colored, and together the 2 songs kind of fulfill very wide spectrum of what I wanted to explore musically, from Rhodes, from Portishead, which is like, it's almost mono in production, and it's very, very minimal, and it's very, very quiet. The whole, everything is played quietly and sung like super quietly, but at the same time, the even in this very kind of meditative flow of this continuous loop. So that was the one element of it, and then you have, it kind of continues into the verses of the Aha song, where it's still like this 3/4 thing that I also did in the Pharos song, but starts off kind of ambiguous and mellow, and then it goes into this really rocking, even for Aha, like a really rocking, guitar driven pre-chorus, and then it kind of just goes off the rails with this huge 80s pop chorus, larger than life style. The two cover songs kind of, they contain so many of the elements I love about those genres, so and it's in the same way with the cover songs I picked for Telmark.
Yeah, I fell in love, like I said, when I first looked at the two true tracks, like Roads and Manhattan Skyline, it just seemed odd. But once you start listening to them, and because they come at the end of the EP, they totally feel like they fall in place. I felt with Roads that you took a little bit more of liberties, if you will, like you went a little bit more outside of how the original sounds, and you were more creative, almost like you took the spinal cord of the original song, but then you made it like your own track. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, to some extent, because of course my intention was to kind of capture the essence and nerve of what was there, and in particular with the Aha song. I know some people feel that you should make it into your own, either way, but for me it was just as much an experiment and a learning. Very prof. Every part in that song has a very particular purpose. It's almost like Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. There's no elements in that song, or not even a keyboard line that is not there for a specific purpose. So it was so well crafted, and I didn't want to go there, to go into the chorus and do like screaming vocals like black metal style. That would just make it parodic, I think. Yeah. So that song was more just trying to play the strong points of all the elements of that song. Whereas for the Portishead one, of course, the big challenge was to start with, because Beth Gibbons, of course, has a female voice singing at kind of the very height of her register, between chest and head voice. Kind of, it's that on that very fragile point. Mm-hmm. So first of all, I had the key of the song to put my own voice in the same kind of fragile key, if you will, and then since it's such a loop-based song, and there are samples involved, so there's nothing you could, I had to kind of recreate so much of the atmosphere is kind of created in the samples. So I had to do, my own drummer would play the beat, and I will loop that so to recreate it. So it kind of, the process lent itself to do things slightly different. All the elements are there, but I made like the intro that is originally with the Rhodes, with the tremolo. I did that with the guitar instead, but like very, very small changes all in all.
The Aha one, I was kind of, I love that song. By the way, I love the band. So, and anytime anybody covers one of their songs, I'm always excited about that, and I'm always happy with that. I was kind of hoping that you would have tackled Hunting High and Low, because I absolutely love that song from them, and it has some of that same spirit of darkness and despair to it. But in this song, at what point did you decided that you were not going to do the vocals on that track?
From the very beginning. I would not sing,
because it's not easy. I mean, like,
no. I know it's the only one that I know accessible to me that could do that song. So yeah, it was very, very quickly decided that he would do that.
Did you try it?
No, never. But I have the thing. I was thinking about this because I had that in my head for some time to do an Aha cover, and then it's I think I realized that in my archives, in my filing system, 5-6 years ago at least, I actually sketched out the skeleton of just doing the first MIDI arrangements of Manhattan Skyline. So this is subconsciously or consciously kind of drifted in and out of my consciousness for something that I really wanted to do. But as I said, I love a lot of the other, like The Sun Always Shines on TV, Hunting High and Low, of course, and they have some amazing songs. But because of the varying elements of this song in particular, the craftsmanship of the songwriting is just immense, I think. So it was very interesting since it had so many layers.
And so that was the main decisive factor for you. It's the overall construction, how complex the track is, and you wanted to tackle something like that.
Yeah, and since it carried with it so many dimensions, you know, ultimately and wise.
I think one of the things that people always look at, especially when you look at this release, is we always want to talk about the sound, how these tracks sound, how experimental they are, the incredible outside of the box feel that the songs have. But perhaps one of the key components across every track on this EP that was outstanding to me was the vocals. How much work went and to get the right tone, the right delivery on every single song. I just felt like it's one, like when you talk about vocals, this EP is just off the charts.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. No, that's, you know, like a, what can I say, a sub goal, you know, with the EP, since I was did only harsh vocals on the Telemark one. I wanted to challenge myself, and you kind of use that as an excuse to try to up the level of my clean vocals. And you know, the results are very much due to my wife producing. She's been producing my clean vocals, and she's been producing a lot of the previous Leprous records as well, you know, for Einar's vocals. So she has a very good good way of knowing where there's more to get, or where there's enough, you know. So she really helped me kind of reach the limit of
full potential.
Yeah,
she knows how to squeeze all the juice out of that orange.
Yes.
now that the two EPs are going to be, well, one is out already. This one is going to be out by next week. On the 11th of September comes out. What's next for you? What's the next step for you? What do you have in plans, and do you have a timetable on where you want to go next with your music?
Yeah, of course. I had very different plans. So this was going to be a big live year for me. We had a lot of stuff stacked up with Emperor, and I was supposed to premiere my Telemark show at the Inferno Festival in Oslo in April, and the idea was to kind of build a live set around the songs of Telemark, and do a live set kind of picking the more extreme elements of my catalog, and do like a full-on extreme set throughout the summer. And then with the release of this, I wanted to build a set list around the songs of the Pharos EP, and perform maybe do a European tour or something like that with only the more experimental and low end kind of or low key elements of my catalog. So that was, so these EPs were kind of intentionally will. So of course, with the current situation, that didn't happen, and so but luckily for me, some other opportunities came along. So finally, both me and Matt Heafy from Trivium, suddenly we had some time on our hands, and we could finally finish off his solo album that I'm producing. So that's like 98% done now. So I'm very happy that we finally got that together. That's been on the to-do list for the last 10 years for both of us, I think. and yeah, now that you know, the EPs are finished and they're just about to go out, so I've just started, you know, gathering material and ideas for my next full length. So I will spend the next the rest of the year really working on my next full length solo album.
It's nice to see that you're putting this time that you don't have the possibility to play live shows to good use, and getting a lot of material out there. So there's no such thing as downtime for you.
Never has been. Well, as I say, you know, if you find something to do that is meaningful and that you love, you know, you never have to work a day in your life.
That's true.
It's kind of that, yeah. So
well,
kind of obsessive about music. Yeah.
It's a good thing for us, the fans, that we get to hear a lot of new material from you. I really want to take the time to thank you for sitting down with me and talking about the EP Pharaohs. Once again, out September 11th on Candlelight. Go check it out. And thank you for taking the time, and stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you so much for the support once again, and same to you and your loved ones.
Thank you. Take care.